Hi, welcome to Wednesday. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to talk about fairies and sprites and trolls. This is not in my comfort zone. My thing is earthbound spirits, but I have run across all of these little creatures over the years, and I do get letters about this. So I've dug back through. This has been going on now for a year and a half, 2 years. So I went back through some of the old letters and found things referring to that. But let me explain something to you. About 35 years ago, I was doing a house, and she had a lot of things going in the house. A lot of stuff was happening, and the ghost that was there swore it wasn't him, that he did this, this, and this, but not that, that, and that. And so I'm thinking, well, okay, not everything is related to a ghost. So the lady of the house had to leave the room. And when she was gone, I started looking around the room, and I looked up at the ceiling, and she had a very elaborate chandelier over the dining room table with a lot of arms and doojiggers hanging off of it, little prisms and stuff. So I glanced up at this, and I thought I saw something, little tiny thing flitting around up there. And I'm thinking, what the heck was that? And I remember looking up again and seeing something about 2 inches long. All I can say, it sort of looks like Tinkerbell from whatever that movie was, Peter Pan. And I'm thinking, what am I, crazy? So I kept my head down and I kept stealing little glances up there, and then I saw another one and another one. And I'm thinking, oh my God, somebody's going to think I'm crazy. And I've heard other people say this, and I've never thought they were crazy. I mean, let's face it, I see ghosts, so I'm probably crazy too. But I didn't say anything. And so the gal comes back and she sits down and she showed me what she went to get. And I'm sure while I was sitting there, I kept glancing up looking at the light. And she finally said to me, "You see them, don't you?" And I just stared at her. I says, what's that? She says, the little pixies that are sitting on the lamp up on the chandelier up there. I said, you see them? She says, oh yeah. And I said, okay, so I'm not crazy. She says, no, no. She said, they've been here for a while. I think that any folklore, anything that refers to trolls or leprechauns or pixies, fairies, I think there's some truth to all of that. And the thing is this, they're not dead. They jump in and out of other dimensions. That's why we don't see them all the time. And when they want to be here, they come here and just jump in from another dimension. And when they want to leave, they just pop up. So, and there's sprites and nature sprites especially. Air, earth, water, and fire. You'll find sprites that are experts in those four things, which coincidentally is the same thing in astrology: earth, air, fire, water. So each of these little sprites or pixies or elves or whatever you want to call them have a function or a job to do depending on which one of those elements they are. So let me get started here. Some of these, let me just read these things. Marianne, years ago, Christmas time, we always had a cut pine tree to decorate. One year we decided to get a ball tree, one that was dug up. The roots were covered or wrapped in burlap. We dug a hole in October and covered it with a sheet of plywood so that when we were done with the Christmas tree, we would be able to plant it because the ground may be frozen then. And as soon as we brought this tree in, trouble started. We waited a few days for the tree to warm up before we decorated it. On the morning of the third day, we went into the family room and we couldn't figure out why the wall by the tree looked dark. It was covered in tiny spiders. They hatched from the tree dirt. We had to get an exterminator to get rid of them. After we decorated the tree, bulbs would go out, one, two, or a whole string. The ornaments would be on the floor. And it looked like something or someone was eating the stringed popcorn and cranberries, but only up high on the tree, not low like one of the pets would do, one of the house pets. Most of our relatives or friends that got this type of tree had similar problems. One of the dirt balls had a snake in it. Okay, why do you think this would happen? Would this be an earth sprite or sprites? Okay, I would imagine this would be an earth sprite or fairy or fa. There's a bunch of different names. And they didn't like that you dug up one of their trees. Now, you knew you were going to replant it, but maybe they didn't realize that's what you were going to do. So I think they were just trying to show you, okay, this is what happens. Don't do it again. And I really believe that's what it was. And that, after reading this, that would be the last thing I would ever buy. Okay. This one is, what's this from? Oh, this was from a Susan. Okay. This one is from a John. We live in Indiana on a working farm, livestock and fields. For milking in the morning, 4 to 5 a.m., about 3 times a week, the dairy herd is anxious and not content. We feel like we are being watched when we're out there. I've called you from the barn and you said we do not have any earthbound spirits. That was about 6 years ago. But this went on when I called you and it is still going on. Yet we have caught a figure of a broad, short person, seems a little hairy in the shadows. The animals are not physically hurt, but they are not happy. And if you don't have a content dairy cow, you don't get the amount of milk you're supposed to be getting. Could this be something like fairies? I don't think this is a fairy. I think what you've got in there is a troll. And trolls can be about 2 feet tall, they can be giants, dwarfs to giants. And they are capable of shape shifting also. And they can be hostile too. So why they picked your place, and maybe it's the energy, but definitely it sounds like you've got them there, or a troll at least. And smudging, believe it or not, coming out of my mouth, is not going to help. They are not dead. They are alive. Okay, my twin daughters are 5, and this spring we made a fairy house in the backyard on May Day, which was May 1st. The girls loved it, kept them busy, having to stay in because of COVID-19. On Mother's Day, May 10th, the girls came in and said we have to go shopping because the fairies couldn't drink out of their teacups. The girls were back there having a tea party and they, I thought, were playing pretend that the fairies were visiting. My daughter held up a Barbie doll shoe and said the cup or glass had to be that small. That's how tiny the fairies are. Is this their imagination? are there fairies? Is this dangerous? The girls are upset. What will happen when it's cold and snowy? Can we make a fairy house in our house or bring that one in from the outside? Apparently, if you build or get a fairy house, that shows fairies that you do believe them. And that's why if you have a fairy house, fairies will show up sometimes. And the fairies that use these houses are teeny tiny, 1 to 2 inches small. And they seem to be fine outside. It is not recommended to invite them into your house. They belong outside, they are with nature, and out of their element, they can play tricks in the house. This is from Nancy. So no, let it stay outside. The fairies will go someplace warm for the winter, and in the spring they will show back up to their little fairy house. But definitely, in my opinion, do not bring it in the house. Okay, this one is, oh golly, I set myself in this way. I wanted to show you a picture and I lost the question that I had. Doggone it, I wonder where it went. Did I put 2 of them together? Oh, I guess I must have. Okay, this one is from Becky, and she asked a bunch of questions. The one is, we walk our down a country road, and a few years ago we saw perfectly round fairy circles on the front lawn. They were bordered by mushrooms. We've only seen the circles one other year. What would cause this? Okay, she sent a picture of what she saw, and she did also ask, does having fairy houses or furniture in a garden draw fairies to visit? Well, I just answered that. And do fairies really hate dogs and cats? You know, any of these little things or trolls or whatever they are, they're like humans in a way, is that some people like this, some people don't. Some people like cats, some don't. Some like dogs, some don't. Some people are mean to animals, some are not. These little creatures are identically the same. The one that I have seen the worst, though, that is not nice to animals, is leprechauns. Leprechauns seem to be very, very, especially the bigger ones. Leprechauns can be very little, but they can be up to 4 feet tall. And for some reason, people that have kennels, show dogs, that type of thing, it's like the dogs get out at night and it looks like they're racing around in a circle. It's almost like the leprechauns are riding them. Again, this is not just from one person. This story has come in over the years, and so it's just a little odd, I think. Here's a picture of the fairy circle, and then here it is with the mushrooms around it. Now, folklore varies about fairy rings, elf circles, and pixie circles. Just a round circle, if it has mushrooms around it, it's supposed to be dangerous. And some of these were found 700 years ago. People were writing about this. Especially in Western Europe, has the reputation of having more of these, but they're all over everywhere. Fairies dancing in circles could create the circles, the rings. And in the middle of the fairy ring, that's where their village is underneath that. So the warning, if you go into the ring, you'll die young or you'll be forced to dance around the ring until you die of exhaustion. You know what? I'd leave the fairy rings alone. If you see them, snap a picture of them if that's something that you think you want to do. But I don't think you should mess with them, and let them make their own rings. There was another letter where she said, "How do I make a fairy ring?" You don't. The fairies make the fairy ring. I have got more and more letters about this. And hold on 1 minute. Oh, this is crazy. There was another letter I wanted to read. It was about a banshee, but I don't know what I did with it. So we're going to stop. And, I think I'm going to still continue this next week because there's another scary story about a woman wrote from Ireland. And I want to get her letter in. A little note, Mercury retrograde starts next week on the 13th and it doesn't end till November 3rd. And we did open up another Friday Zoom, and that will be on October 16th at 7:30 at night. You can go to my website to get information on how to get on if that's what you would like to do. This has been a crazy, crazy one. You can tell that I'm really not comfortable talking about something that I don't know a lot about. And any of these questions that I have gotten, I've gone to people that have more knowledge about this than me. That's why I've come up with some of these answers. And apparently there is a way to stop them from coming in your house. There's a recipe of what you can do. And it's fairly long, and I'm debating if I'm going to talk about it here or have it posted on my website. I will definitely let you know next Wednesday what we're going to do. Thanks so much. Have a great week.